Colby, math.com.
We're converting rational numbers on this computation help video. Sometimes you need your number in standard form, written as a decimal, as you see here. Sometimes you prefer that in percent form, and sometimes as a fraction. So we need to know how to get from one form to the other. The practice below the video has you practicing specific ones, for example, fraction to decimal or percent to fraction. So if you're doing the practice below, try to do a little bit of each of those worksheets, or all of them if you have enough time. But when I give these to you on the Computation Go sheets, they're going to be in this form where it's a table, and I've given you one form and you need to provide the other two forms in the row. This first one is written in standard form, and it's very easy to write a number in standard form as a fraction because you simply need to read the number. If I read this number with place value, it's 1 and 25 hundredths. So I can write that fraction 1 and 25 hundredths, just written as a mixed number. And then of course you need to simplify your fraction if possible. 25 and 100 have a common factor of 25, so that simplifies to 1 and 1/4. As a percent, we know that percent means out of 100. So if I have 1 and 25 hundredths, 25 hundredths is 25%. 1 is 100%, so this is 125%. If I go back to the number in standard form, if I move the decimal 2 places to the right, then I just write 125%, because percent means out of 100. So I would divide by 100 to get back to where I started, to get back to the original number, or the original standard form of the number. So this is 125%. One other thing I should say is if you just read this number in standard form, just ignore the decimal for a second. It's 125 ending in the hundredths place. So it actually says it's 125 hundredths. So if it's out of 100 already, that is the percent, 125%. We can use that same idea for this next row. We have 200%. That is 200 hundredths. And so that's just 2. 200 divided by 100 is 2. So in standard form, that would just be 2. And in fraction form, you just write the number 2 also. There's no fractional part to that. It's not a mixed number. I mean, you could write 2 over 1, but that would just simplify to 2. Finally, we have 1/3. And you're going to have some fractions that are not easily converted to a decimal fraction or to decimal form. And in that case, you need to recognize that 1/3, that this vinculum, this fraction bar, indicates division. So this expression is saying 1 divided by 3. This is the same as 1 divided by 3. And so if I set it up as long division, it's 1 divided by 3. You may already know, I suspect you already know what this repeating decimal is, but just to illustrate, I'll go through the motions here with the long division. How many 3's are in 1? 0. And then I want to keep dividing, so I show the decimal point after the whole number 1, and then I reveal the 0 in the tenths place. That 0 was always there, it just wasn't showing. 1.0 is the same as 1. And so I line up my decimal and my quotient. How many 3's are in 10? 3. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Subtract and you get 1. I reveal the 0 in the hundredths place. Bring it down. How many 3's are in 10? 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And you can see that's going to go on forever. So it's as a decimal, it's 0.3333 forever. And you can express that with bar notation this way. That tells you that the 3 repeats. So 0.3 repeating as a decimal. And then if we look at our standard form of a number, and then we multiply by 100, that will be 33.333. That's the percent. 33.3%. and that 3 is repeating forever. I want to do one more like this. Here we have 1 and 5/10, 1 and 5/10, which simplifies to 1 and 1/2. As a percent, 1 and 5/10 is equivalent to 1 and 50 hundredths. So that will be 150%. That's also useful. It's also useful to think of simpler cases like this too, because it helps you to confirm your process for. In other words, if you're moving the decimal 2 places to the right to get your percent, with a less, let's see you had something like 1.03, and you said, okay, that's 103%. But if you can be sure you're doing it right, because if you think of something easier like 1.5, 1 and 1/2 has to be 150%, right? 1 is 100%, 1 whole is 100%, and half of something is 50%. So it makes sense that this is 150%. For 5/6, we're going to need to, in order to get standard form, we're going to need to divide. So 5/6 is the same as 5 divided by 6. And there are 0 6s in 5. Reveal the 0 in the tenths place. Line up our decimal and our quotient. How many 6s in 50? 7 times 6, 8 multiplied by 6 is 48. Subtract and you get a difference of 2. Reveal the 0 in the hundredths place and bring it down. How many 6s in 20? 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. Subtract, you get a difference of 2. Bring down the 0 from the thousands place. How many 6s in 20? 3. 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. And so now we see that this 3 is going to repeat forever. So the decimal would be 0.8333, and the 3 goes on forever. So we can write that as 0.83 and put the bar notation above the 3 to indicate that the 3 repeats forever. If I were to convert this to percent form, I would need to multiply by 100, and that gives me 83.3% with the 3 repeating. And one thing you should do if you're working on improving on these type of problems is think about whether your answer is reasonable. Up here we had 1 and 1/2. That should be more than 100% because it's more than 1 whole. Here we have 5/6. That's less than 1 whole, so it should be, but it's close, right? 5/6 is close to 1 whole. So it should be close to 100%, but less than 100%. And so that tells us that this answer is reasonable. Here we have 325%. 325% is equivalent to 325 hundredths. And so that's equal to 3.25. That's 325 ending in the hundredths place. And 0.25 is a quarter, so that's 3 1/4 as a mixed number. Okay, I hope that helps with converting rational numbers. There's lots of practice down below, but like I said, they're specific to a certain types of conversions, so make sure you do more than one of those worksheets.